The latest welcoming message from the United States: if you don't like Donald Trump, stay away. New proposals from the administration published by the US Customs and Border Protection suggest that British travellers will be required to submit their social media history for the past 5 years to the Americans. They'll also be asked for other data, including telephone numbers, the dates and places of birth of family members, and any business emails used in the last decade. If this goes ahead, and it's still if, it'll make travelling to the US really cumbersome and for many people very unappealing. It comes in the context of the Trump administration attacking Europe as decaying societies and Pope Leo intervening to plead with Washington not to break apart the transatlantic relationship. Let's talk now to John Sandvig, the former director of the US Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. John, thanks very much for talking to us tonight. This is really bleak news for a lot of people who have travelled regularly to the United States and will be put off. Is it part of a kind of severing of personal as well as commercial ties between the EU and the US, do you think?
You know, Andrew, I think it fits into a larger pattern we've seen on immigration in the United States, where the administration is being much more restrictive in terms of who they let into the country. Now, believe it or not, this social media vetting began under the Obama administration and candidly during the time I was at the Department of Homeland Security. But it was born out of concerns regarding radicalization and some security cases where individuals who went on to engage in terroristic activities in the U.S. had previously posted, messages that might have been revealing that they posed a threat before. We weren't vetting that information. I think the concern here is, what is the administration going to be looking for, right? Are they looking for this, if you have an anti-Trump views or a kind of pro-Europe views, is that going to be disqualifying in terms of your ability to come in the country? I think that's certainly the bigger concern more, though, but it fits into this larger anti-immigration, more restrictive agenda the administration has, not so much the antipathy towards Europe.
Well, that's really interesting. I could exactly see why anyone would want to know whether there was some kind of terrorist link or extremist views in the past. But the question that a lot of people will be asking themselves tonight is, I think I posted something a bit rude about Elon Musk a while back, or I said something quite rude about Donald Trump's hair. Can I no longer go to the United States? Do you know when we're going to get more clarity on this, or when the reality of what people are going to face in airports and before is going to become apparent?
Andrew, in terms of the regulation, we're going to get more clarity not too far away in terms of what you need to provide in order to get that ESTA approved, right? The million-dollar question I don't know that we'll ever get full clarity on is, now that they have the social media information, what are they looking for, right? And with all these big data AI tools they have available to them today, it just won't be hard to find that old message about Elon Musk and being critical of him. And it's really not until we start seeing cases and start hearing media stories about individuals who have no national security risks associated with them, but have simply expressed political views that are opposite of this current U.S. administration, and those people being denied. And I think that's why it's so alarming. Look, this is always a sensitive topic, Andrew, and when we rolled out social media in the context of monitoring, in the context of visa applications, there were lots of concerns about what the government's going to be doing with that information. But look, this administration's not been shy. They intend to deny people access to America that don't share their ideals or their vision of what freedom looks like.
And this is also in the context, of course, of America hosting the World Cup this year. Yeah. Do you think this administration really wants tourists to come into the United States anymore?
Well, I'll tell you, they certainly, we are going to see a real limitation of the number of migrants coming to this country. Student visas are down dramatically, and I think the administration is perfectly happy with that. H-1B and professional work visas, the administration has, raised the fees dramatically to really discourage U.S. employers from seeking foreign talent. Of course, the president seems to be very excited about the World Cup, has a very close relationship with FIFA. I think there are a lot of concerns, not just with regard to the ability of people to travel to the United States during the World Cup, but also what's going to happen at these World Cup sites, right, with regard to the immigration enforcement, mass deportation effort going on in the country. So there's a little bit of a contradiction there between the president's promotion of the World Cup, but also this anti-immigration kind of agenda that they have. But I think by and large, your point is right. I don't think this administration wants migrants in the United States, legal or otherwise.
There's a sense of sadness, I think, here on this side of the pond, of backs being turned and old relationships breaking. Is it felt at all on your side?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a lot of concern about whether we're turning our back on longtime alliances. I think there's a lot of concern in the United States about whether these kind of more restrictive policies on legal migration are really smart for the U.S. economy or the future of the United States. I mean, there are a lot of great companies, a lot of great Americans who entered the United States, right, as Elon Musk himself came in as an immigrant
He
to this
did, yeah,
country.
yeah,
Built
yeah.
incredible companies. So certainly, I think there's a lot of concern about this. Again, on this particular one, I could see, Andrew, legitimate security reasons to impose some of these restrictions. I just think the fear is it probably isn't going to be limited. Denying people's access might veer into that political messaging or that old tweet you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's a somber moment, John Sandbeck. Thank you very much indeed.